My girlfriend wanted to break up with me for a rich second-generation guy. I disagreed. So she falsely accused me of trying to rape her and reported me to the principal. But what she didn't expect was that the principal is my mother. I asked her to clarify the truth quickly. She thought I was being a coward, but I just didn't want to make a big deal out of it. Because privately, my mom is a professional at dismembering bodies, my sister is a psychopathic killer, and my dad has a serious sociopathic personality. And I am the beloved one in our family. Why do you want to break up? I looked up at Jiang Qingqing and pushed the birthday gift I had prepared for her. We're not compatible. As soon as Jiang Qingqing finished speaking, Li Hao sitting beside her smashed the gift box I had carefully prepared into my face. The crystal-clear jade bracelet shattered all over the floor. Because you're not good enough. For Qingqing's birthday, you give her this? Some cheap trinket you found at a street vendor. I didn't respond to Li Hao, my gaze fixed steadily on Jiang Qingqing. Seeing her remain silent, I couldn't control the sadness and anger in my heart. In fact, that jade bracelet was worth more than all of Li Hao's family assets. I bought Qingqing a car. When Jiang Qingqing heard this, a flash of joy appeared in her eyes. But as soon as she saw me, it turned to disgust. Song Yi, I've never had feelings for you. I only agreed to be your girlfriend because I was tired of your pursuit. You're a big, tall guy, and I was afraid to refuse. Now I have Li Hao, and I wanted to make things clear with you. Li Hao immediately embraced Jiang Qingqing with a concerned expression to comfort her. Hearing her aggrieved tone, it was as if I really was a jerk who forced people. But she was clearly the one who had promised me that we would date secretly for a while, and then she would marry me after graduation. I admit I still love her and don't want to embarrass her, but I couldn't swallow this insult either. I didn't agree to her request and stood up to leave. But Jiang Qingqing grabbed my hand. The warmth transmitted from her hand made me feel a bit dazed. How long had it been since she last held my hand? Her fair face showed some anger. Song Yi, don't push me. After a pause, seemingly realizing her words were too harsh and inconsistent with her gentle, pure image, she added, be a kind person and let me go. Kind. Is kindness trampling my dignity and letting a third party trample it too? Even the Leshan giant Buddha would have to bow to me. Despite them both, I shook off her hand and walked out of the room. Jiang Qingqing, I won't break up with you. I quickly left. Behind me came Jiang Qingqing's sobbing and Li Hao's angry curses. If you won't break up, just wait and see. You'll regret it. Back at my rented apartment, I lay straight down on the bed. 2 years ago, I came alone to this city for university. Although I wasn't great at studying, I enjoyed socializing and had many interests, so I joined quite a few clubs. New club members were often assigned many miscellaneous and tiring tasks, so during that period, I frequently stayed up late. Once I fainted from exhaustion, and Jiang Qingqing happened to find me. She got someone to take me to the infirmary, which became the occasion of our acquaintance. She had a pure and beautiful appearance, a good figure, and excellent academic performance. She was acknowledged as our school's campus beauty with both looks and talent. I fell in love with her at first sight and went to great lengths to get her WeChat contact. For 2 years, I constantly checked on her well-being and fulfilled her every request, which made everyone joke that I was her devoted pursuer. I disregarded these comments. When pursuing someone, one should certainly demonstrate a proper attitude. Later, I confessed my feelings to her, and we began a secret relationship. Because I disliked extravagance and valued cost-effectiveness, whenever I took her out for meals, I always chose reasonably priced but delicious restaurants. The gifts I gave her were small handmade items I created myself. I felt this showed my sincerity. As for money, I actually didn't lack it at all. After we got married someday, everything I had would be hers. She always smiled happily, which made me believe even more that she was a good girl. She took me to meet her family, but her family was very cold toward me. Still, she said I was her chosen partner. I continued this naive relationship with her until that rich second-generation guy, Li Hao, showed up in his luxury car. Jiang Qingqing's tenderness toward me disappeared overnight. Later I realized she wasn't accepting me despite my flaws. She was just bored and wanted to play with me, while also needing someone like me who would obey her every wish. When she took me to meet her family, it wasn't because she acknowledged me and wanted to marry me, but because she wanted her family to intervene and discourage me, so she wouldn't damage her good girl image. Jiang Qingqing was Li Hao's girlfriend from high school, and they were each other's first loves. Unfortunately, after graduation, Li Hao's family disapproved, and they were forced to break up. When they met again, Li Hao had become the head of the Li family and could finally be with Jiang Qingqing openly. I closed my eyes, forcing myself not to think about these things anymore. Suddenly, my phone lying nearby rang, and when I glanced at it, my hair stood on end. My roommate had forwarded me a post that Jiang Qingqing had published on the school forum. She accused me of stalking and forcing myself on her for a long time, claiming I tried to rape her, and included multiple photos and audio recordings. In the photos, I was holding Jiang Qingqing's hand while her FAC He was pale. In reality, this was because she was sick but refused to go to the hospital. The audio recording was precisely my emotionally charged, "we're not breaking up," from that morning. Combined with my previous reputation as her devoted follower, I suddenly became the target of everyone's attacks and abuse. What kind of pervert is this? A toad wanting to eat swan meat. Disgusting. Can't filthy men just leave the planet? Call the police. What a creep. Resorting to this when rejected, girls need to protect themselves. Support the beautiful sister. This incident grew quite large and spread across the internet. I kept receiving harassing text messages, and several male students from my dorm wanted to beat me up. I could only hide in my rented apartment, unable to even attend classes. I couldn't take it anymore. I originally wanted to ask my former friends for help, but unexpectedly, Jiang Qingqing reported me to the principal. A few days later, both Jiang Qingqing and I were called to the principal's office. Jiang Qingqing looked somewhat smug, urging me to break up quickly, or else she would ruin my reputation. At that moment, I had no mood to talk to her because I saw an all-too-familiar face. To my surprise, my mother walked slowly into the room in her stilettos, wearing a formulaic smile on her face. That was the expression she most liked to put on when she was angry. Just as Jiang Qingqing was about to speak, a resounding slap landed on her face. Jiang Qingqing, with her reddened eyes, looked incredulously at the beautiful woman in front of her. "You dare to slap me?" My mother wiped her hand with a tissue. "Hitting you is already going easy on you. At such a young age, not behaving properly. I'm disciplining you on behalf of your family." Although Jiang Qingqing was extremely angry, to maintain her image she still said, "I haven't misbehaved. I have evidence. Do you think I would believe you or my son?" "What? Your son? Isn't he poor?" Jiang Qingqing was utterly shocked. "Poor what? Let me tell you, I'm not as easy to deal with as he is. I called you here today to let you know that the one who will be ruined isn't him. It's you." The expressions on Jiang Qingqing's face changed unpredictably. She bit her lip, finally dropping her act. "So what if you're the principal? Does being the principal give you the right to hit people? Just you wait." Hearing Jiang Qingqing's words, I was completely drenched in sweat. After saying this, she ran out crying. "My mom didn't care at all. I was only recently transferred to your school. I didn't tell you because I didn't want to disturb you." Her attitude completely changed, her tone becoming extremely affectionate. "I don't watch over you for a little while, and you get entangled with trash. So annoying. Mom, it's enough to just delete the posts. Please don't do anything else, because I'm afraid it might lead to someone getting killed." My mom listened to me and quickly deleted all the posts that spread rumors about me. However, she also paid some of Jiang Qingqing's friends to clarify things for me, and hired quite a few internet trolls to spread negative information about Jiang Qingqing all over the forums and internet. My reputation improved significantly, and Jiang Qingqing, whether out of fear or for some other reason, never appeared again. Gradually, I returned to my normal life. One day, after evening classes, I dozed off in my rented apartment. I was definitely sleeping in my own bed, but when I woke up again, I was lying in a private hospital bed, and my phone had been taken away. Li Hao splashed a cup of water on me and said coldly, "Still sleeping?" I struggled to open my eyes. Li Hao looked at me mockingly, and behind her stood Jiang Qingqing. I instantly became fully awake. "Song Yi, Brother Hao's mother has kidney failure, and you're a match. To make amends, you should donate a kidney to her. By the way, I recorded when your mother hit me last time. I just submitted it to the Education Bureau this morning. Do you think her position as principal is still secure?" After hearing her words, I felt a chill throughout my body. They probably knew I couldn't escape, so they didn't tie me up before leaving. I saw a map of the entire hospital in the corridor. I definitely couldn't leave through the main entrance. Li Hao might have given instructions to the nurses at the front desk. The only way I could go was through the back door. Soon I seized the opportunity. I slipped out of the hospital room and went to the back door. I couldn't open this door, but I could climb over the wall to get out. Just as I was about to leave, a faint cry for help caught my attention. Without thinking much, my first instinct was to help. So I unhesitatingly ran toward the direction of the sound. The result was that I saw a man with his hands and feet bound, all 10 fingers severed. I stood frozen in place, stunned for a moment. This method of torture was all too familiar to me. I was lost in thought, not noticing the man's terrified gaze directed behind me. The next moment, a gentle yet cold voice sounded from behind me. "Peeking at someone else's murder isn't what good children do." As she spoke, she walked past me. In the moonlight, that familiar face triggered my horrifying memories. I felt as if someone was choking me, unable to speak. She walked up to the man and swiftly stabbed him. The man collapsed to the ground, completely lifeless. At the same time, someone was calling my name from a distance. Song Yi, you'd better not let me catch you, or you're finished." Hearing Li Hao's voice at this moment, I somehow felt like laughing. A flashlight beam shone over, and a bodyguard shouted, "Song Yi is here. The purse." on behind me discreetly blocked the corpse. Then Li Hao immediately ran over. Actually, her motion to block the corpse was completely unnecessary because the night was very dark and she was standing behind a tree, making it difficult to see. Plus Li Hao at this moment only had eyes for me, not paying attention to anyone else. He grabbed my collar without a word, with such great force that I could barely breathe. Song-yi, if you're smart, don't fucking run around. I'm just asking you to donate a kidney. It's what you should do, and it's not like I'm taking your life, he shouted at me. Saying this, he dragged me, pulling me back to the hospital room. Before leaving, I looked back. In the moonlight, the woman wearing a white coat and mask stood coldly in place, her gloomy gaze fixed on Li Hao. I couldn't help but shudder. Back in the hospital room, taking advantage of no one else being there, I frantically said to Li Hao, "You all need to leave. It's dangerous here." Li Hao kicked me with disgust, and I crashed into the hospital bed. Song-yi, I'm warning you, don't try these useless tricks. Now you're getting scared? For Qingqing and my mother, you must donate this kidney. You can't escape. I've arranged everything. No one will notice you're gone, and no one will come to save you. I stared at Li Hao in shock. Judging from his expression, he was serious. Just then, Jiang Qingqing walked in wearing a white dress. Song-yi, I've never been so humiliated in my life, and it's all because of you. You owe me. She came forward, caressed my face, then suddenly slapped me twice. Though she was a woman, her hand was quite strong. I'm just returning the favor. Who told your mother, that old woman, to dare hit me? I tasted blood in my mouth, but remained silent. So the woman I had loved so deeply was truly this vicious. Li Hao's mother's health had been deteriorating recently, so she was also hospitalized. After her hospitalization, Zhang's mother, whom I had only met once, made an unprecedented visit to the hospital. Li Hao's mother's bed was placed next to mine. Mrs. Jiang held her hand and said with a beaming smile, "My in-law, please get well soon so you can preside over our children's wedding." Li Hao's mother smiled faintly. Fortunately, Qingqing helped me find a matching donor. It was my fault back then that the two children were separated. I was tied to the bed with my mouth gagged, listening to their nauseating pleasantries. The door to the hospital room was pushed open, and a voice spoke from in front of me. "The most important thing now is to make sure the surgery goes well." As they spoke, I felt a gaze fall upon me. I looked up. Two women stood before me. One was Jiang Qingqing, and the other. My eyes met hers, and my pupils contracted as my body began to tremble uncontrollably. I need to leave. I need to leave right now. I kicked off the blanket, trying to escape, but Li Hao thought I was refusing the kidney transplant and forcefully pinned me down to the bed. His mother's health condition was worsening, so Li Hao had been very anxious these past few days. "It's okay, doctor. Please do an examination, and if there are no problems, arrange the surgery as soon as possible," Li Hao said to the woman beside him. The woman's ambiguous smile swept over me, and after finishing my examination, she went outside to talk with Li Hao. Zhang's mother also left, but before leaving, she instructed Jiang Qingqing to call her after the surgery was done so she could come take care of her in-law. With no one else around, Jiang Qingqing removed her hypocritical mask, walked to my hospital bed, ran her fingertip across my waist, and smiled, saying, "You deserve all of this." I looked at her. I was blind back then. Jiang Qingqing gave a light snort. "If you had told me earlier that your mother was the principal, perhaps I would have truly been with you." I looked at her and said seriously, "You can still leave now. Otherwise, you will face retribution." Retribution? I've never believed in any retribution, but I should kindly remind you that you have less than a day left to live. Jiang Qingqing smiled mockingly, looking at me like a victor. "I've bribed Dr. Song who's performing your surgery. You'll die on the operating table, and you can forget about keeping your 2 kidneys. I calmly turned my head away. Jiang Qingqing didn't know. I wouldn't possibly die on the operating table, because the person performing the surgery was my own sister. After Jiang Qingqing finished speaking with me, she went out to find Li Hao. There were many bodyguards outside, and I had no chance of escaping. The next moment, the door was pushed open, and a woman with a cool yet gentle demeanor walked in. But having grown up with her, I knew very well that her gentleness was just a facade. In reality, she was a psychopathic killer, and she even chose to study medicine because she found dissection entertaining. "Xiaoyi." She walked to my bedside, looking at me with pity. "I called you a few days ago. Why didn't you answer?" Thinking about that phone call from a few days ago, I trembled all over. After arriving in this city, I changed my phone card. The reason Song Qing could call me was because she had already found me, but I didn't realize this at the time. "Sister." I looked at her obediently, afraid that one day she might finish me off too. I was wrong. I shouldn't have run away from home. A child who knows how to correct their mistakes is a good child. Song Qing's slender, fair hands, the same ones she used to hold surgical scalpels, gently caressed my face. "Sister won't blame you, but those 2 bastards, sister needs to deal with them for you. By the way, Mom and Dad miss you very much." I'll take you to see them in a while. After saying this, she walked out without waiting for my response. In the afternoon, I was wheeled onto the operating table. After being given anesthesia, everything went black, and I knew nothing more. When I woke up again, I was in the villa of my home. As soon as I opened my eyes, a beautiful and graceful face leaned close to mine. Ah, Xiao Yi is awake. She happily held my hand and said with concern, "You've been away for 2 years. Have you suffered? Did you worry about Mom?" She thought she could really report me. My mother's tone was gentle. No one would imagine that this elegant lady could sever someone's bones with just a few slashes. When I used to live at home, she would often help dispose of the bodies after my sister and father killed people late at night, and even chopped up human bones to make soup for my father. Xiao Yi, how should we deal with those two outside? My father, with his antisocial personality, stepped forward and pushed his gold-rimmed glasses. If you hadn't heard what he just said, you might have found him somewhat scholarly. My father discovered he had an antisocial personality disorder since high school. He stopped formal education afterward, but self-taught many things. According to my sister, he had recently been studying the 10 most cruel tortures in ancient China. Don't discuss these things in front of Xiao Yi. He's timid and soft-hearted. You'll scare him. Song Qing, who had always been gentle with me, walked out with a faint smile on her face. Although my sister isn't antisocial, she's been fascinated with anything related to blood since childhood. The small animals I kept as a child would mysteriously disappear, and later I found their dissected bodies in her study. She is a graduate student at a top medical university in the country, but no one knows that. Compared to saving lives, she's more adept at taking them. Our house has a basement with excellent soundproofing. Over the years, I've lost count of how many people my sister and father have killed down there. However, they only kill those whom they consider bad people. For instance, they now believe that Jiang Qingqing and Li Hao are bad people who bullied me. At dinner time, I saw Jiang Qingqing and Li Hao. They were brought up from the basement, their feet chained together with iron links, dragging a large lead ball behind them. The two of them no longer had their previous high and mighty, arrogant appearance. Jiang Qingqing's face had grown even paler, with no emotion in her eyes. Her dress was torn, and her skin showed dozens of different wounds including burns and whip marks, making it apparent she had been severely tortured. Li Hao had no external injuries, but his expression was dazed and disoriented. Because their feet were chained together, they walked very slowly and stumbled frequently. When they finally reached the dining table, my sister propped her chin wide. Th her hand, her beautiful eyes smiling as she looked at them. Didn't you two enjoy being together? I've chained you together. Do you like it? Now you'll never be able to leave each other. A flash of terror crossed both Li Hao and Jiang Qingqing's faces. When they looked at me, sitting expressionless at the dining table, their eyes no longer showed their previous arrogance, but rather fear and timidity. Eat. My mother served a dish to Li Hao and Jiang Qingqing. Upon seeing what was in the plate, Li Hao's face turned pale, while Jiang Qingqing turned her head away and vomited. I also frowned, feeling somewhat nauseated. Although they used to torture those people before, they never did it this way. I looked towards Song Qing. Seemingly noticing my confusion, she raised her eyebrows and deliberately pointed at Li Hao. Didn't he really like other people's kidneys? She said. That's his mother's. Let him have a taste. I couldn't bear to watch. His mother nearly died, but fortunately, your sister's medical skills are excellent, and I saved her. She's still barely hanging on now, my sister said with a pleased smile. Just then, as if having made up her mind, Jiang Qingqing pleaded with me. Song Yi, please let us go, and also release Li Hao's mother. I'll clear things up for you. Please spare us. As soon as Jiang Qingqing finished speaking, my mother coldly snorted. Xiao Yi is soft-hearted. Even if he lets you go, I will not let you off. That's right. My sister ate her meal methodically. Rather than begging for mercy, why don't you think about which one of you two should die first? Song Yi. Li Hao seemed to discover that my sister had more authority to speak, so he forced out a flattering smile and said to my sister, Please spare me. I'll do whatever you want. I can be your servant, make you happy as a deity. To survive, Li Hao abandoned even his dignity. Jiang Qingqing looked at Li Hao in astonishment, as if seeing him for the first time. Brother Hao, what are you saying? Li Hao closed his mouth and stopped talking. I didn't have much appetite for dinner either and wanted to return to my room first. My father stopped me. Xiao Yi, wait, there's still a good show to watch. I turned around, and my father, with an elegant smile, spoke words like a demon. Do you think it would be better to turn them into human pigs, or to clean them up? Hearing my father's words, Jiang Qingqing and Li Hao's faces grew even paler. As if imagining some horrifying scene, Jiang Qingqing suddenly looked toward me. Don't do this. Song Yi, I'm begging you, I won't spread rumors about you anymore. Please spare me. Didn't you like me? I can be with you. Before she could finish speaking, my sister interrupted her. You think you're good enough for him? The people who used to pursue him could line up from one end of the Yangtze River to the other. Who do you think you are? After saying this, my sister even ruffled my hair. Be good, little E, go and rest. Dad, Mom, and I will take care of this for you. Ignoring Jiang Qingqing's pleading gaze, I stood up and walked upstairs. I had warned them. Behind me came Jiang Qingqing's painful and desperate cry. Song Yi, I was wrong. I won't do this anymore. I can change, please forgive me. My sister interrupted her words again. If apologies were useful, why would we need police? They moved quickly. In the early hours of the morning, I heard my mother chopping bones. I sighed, took earplugs from my bedside drawer, and put them in. When I got up in the morning, a large bowl of meat soup sat in the dining room downstairs. I didn't need to guess what meat it was made from. The air carried a faint but distinct smell of blood. Looking at that bowl of meat, I had no appetite. My mother walked out from the kitchen, elegantly wiping her hands. Those two had such a strong smell on them. I spent a long time trying to get rid of the odors, but couldn't clean them completely. I immediately stood up and said, Dad, Mom, Sister, I'm going back to my room first. I fled back to my room and locked the door behind me. The two people who had been with me just yesterday were now a dish on the dining table, and I had even dated one of them. Thinking about this, I couldn't help but feel nauseated. I stayed in my room all day without going out. I knew that in my current situation there was no escape, but even though I had lived in this house for 19 years, I was still afraid. When I was little, I thought my dad, mom, and sister were normal. When my mother served meat soup, although I found the taste very strange, I would still drink it. As I grew up, my awareness gradually became more independent, and I realized that this was wrong. But whenever I saw the expression in my parents' eyes when they looked at me, I couldn't say anything. Later, I simply kept my mouth shut and became silent. At dinner time, my dad came to knock on the door. I opened it, and he pushed in a plate of green vegetables and a bowl of rice. I know you're not used to eating those things. You haven't eaten all day, at least have something. Looking at the bright green vegetables, my stomach was already extremely hungry, so I had no choice but to lower my head and say to Dad, thank you. My father still had that gentle and refined expression. He seemed to want to say something to me, but before he could speak, a ding-dong sound rang from downstairs. My heart jumped to my throat. Someone was ringing our doorbell. My heart began to race wildly. I was worried that it might be the police. Although I was afraid of my family members, they had never done anything to hurt me and had always treated me well. I had run away from them because I couldn't adapt to their lifestyle, not because I wanted them to be arrested. My mother opened the door. I stood at my bedroom doorway, and although I couldn't see the exact situation downstairs, I could hear the voices coming up. Hello, we're from the Haiqing police station, investigating a missing person case. Is Mr. Songyi here? We have a few questions we'd like to ask him. Hearing these words, I could no longer contain my fear. They were actually looking for me. That voice seemed to have some kind of magical power, or perhaps I had never been good at lying from childhood to adulthood. After hearing this question, I instinctively wanted to step downstairs. Before I could take a step, my dad grabbed my wrist and gave me a look. Downstairs, my mom's panicked voice rang out. What? Little E? Has he gone missing? No wonder he's been out all this time without sending a single message. Something must have happened to him. My little E, my poor little E. My mom was clearly much better at lying than I was. She started playing the role of a middle-aged woman who believed her son was missing. Her usual elegance completely vanished. Seeing her like this, even the police took a step back, finding her somewhat difficult to deal with. Ma'am, please calm down. Mr. Song Yi isn't missing. He's involved in a missing person case. Seemingly concluding from my mother's words that I wasn't home, the police didn't want to waste more time and immediately said, since Mr. Song Yi isn't home, we'll leave for now. When you hear from him, please notify us immediately. My mom nodded with tears in her eyes. Yes, 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 as long as our little E isn't the one who's missing. I'll definitely let you know as soon as I hear from him. Perhaps because my mother was acting too cooperative, they left without any suspicion. After the door closed, my mother breathed a sigh of relief. My sister's voice came from the living room. Mom, they should award you an Oscar statuette at this year's International Film Festival. However, my mother ignored my sister's joke and looked up at me, calling out with a serious expression, Xiao Yi, come down here. I went downstairs. Strangely, although I was afraid, deep down I somehow knew that my mother wouldn't hurt me or betray me. Xiao Yi, the police have already traced this back to you. Although Mom helped cover for you this time, the police will eventually find you. You need to face them yourself, understand? Though my mother's tone was serious, her expression revealed unmistakable worry. I nodded instinctively. I understand. Afterwards, my mother taught me how to deal with the police and how to answer when facing their questions. I memorized everything word for word. That very evening after I memorized the talking points, our doorbell rang again. Coming. My mom went to open the door. My sister glanced at me without showing any emotion, and I nodded. The atmosphere was nerve-wracking, as if our lives hung by a thread. The door opened, and a woman who resembled a shrew rushed in. When she saw me, she charged directly to me and grabbed my collar. "Where have you taken my daughter and son-in-law? They've both disappeared, yet you're sitting here safe and sound. Give me back my daughter and son-in-law." Only then did I realize the person who burst in was actually Jiang Qingqing's mother. I calmly grabbed her arm in return, but I couldn't push her away since I couldn't hit her. "Let go of my son." A deep voice sounded in front of me, chilling to the bone, yet it gave me an extraordinary sense of security. I looked up and saw my father standing before me, holding a sharp boning knife in his hand. At that moment, blood was slowly dripping from the knife. Perhaps because this scene was too shocking, Mother Jiang let out a scream, but before she could finish, my mom slowly walked out from the kitchen holding another bone-scraping knife. Her face was cold and expressionless, with dark red marks all over the bone-scraping knife. Mother Jiang's scream stopped abruptly. She fainted from fear. When she woke up, she was in our basement. This was the second time after many years that I had stepped into this basement. There was a peculiar smell here. I knew it was because the original bloody smell was too strong, and my parents wanted to cover it up, which resulted in this smell. As soon as she woke up and saw me, she started cursing at me. "You bastard, you scum, let me go immediately. Otherwise I won't let you go even after I'm dead." I felt somewhat numb. My parents had heard such words countless times, and they were still living well, so these words had no substantial harm at all. I asked her, "Why don't you like me? Is it just because I'm poor?" Mother Jiang sneered. "Of course. You reek of poverty from head to toe, and you still want to marry our Qingqing? You're just a toad lusting after a swan's flesh. I look down on you, understand? Only someone like Li Hao, a rich second generation, is worthy of our Qingqing. Even if your family had money, you'd still look like a poor loser. In that case, killing you wouldn't be unjust." My sister emerged from the corner of the basement, her face cold as she stared at Mother Jiang. My sister has always known best how to torture people. She injected Mother Jiang with a special drug that kept her conscious through the pain, then proceeded to stab her repeatedly. Mother Jiang's screams were continuous, and the look in her eyes towards me changed from initial anger to final pleading fear. Blood trickled from the corner of her mouth, her gaze already numb, but she still stared blankly at me, pleading. But I remained coldly indifferent. "Please let me go, Songyi. I know I was wrong. I can give you anything you want." My sister, who had originally planned to continue, suddenly stopped when she heard these words. She investigated all properties under Jiang's mother's nom. And drafted a property transfer agreement with me as the beneficiary. "Sign it. Even though we don't really need it, we just enjoy taking what's yours." She pushed the agreement document in front of Mother Jiang. Mother Jiang knew she had no way out. Perhaps even doing this wouldn't allow her to live, but at least it would make her passing less painful. So she signed with trembling hands, after which my sister cut the tendons in her hands, and then handed the knife to me. "Xiao, she looks like she's in a lot of pain." My sister gazed at me gently and said, "You help end her life." I held the knife, my hands trembling slightly, the handle still warm from my sister's touch. I deeply hated the Jiang Qingqing family, but when it came to personally finishing off Jiang's mother, I still hesitated. After all, this was my first time killing someone. But Jiang's mother looked at me, her eyes filled with hope that I couldn't quite understand. "Please kill me." Her lips moved slightly, struggling to utter hoarse words. "I will be grateful to you for the rest of my life." A great weight seemed to suddenly lift from my heart. I raised the knife and plunged the blade into the mother's chest. Warm blood splattered across my face. The light gradually faded from her eyes. Her parents disguised it as a suicide and left a suicide note and property agreement at the scene. In the note, she even took responsibility for the murders of Jiang Qingqing and Li Hao, so the police left me alone. A few days later, I returned to school. My identity was spread around by my mother, and I no longer wore those cheap clothes from street stalls. Soon, I had many new friends on WeChat and QQ. On an ordinary afternoon, a girl handed me a love letter in person. She had a pure and sweet appearance, and was reportedly the newly selected campus beauty. Just as I was about to accept it, a shabbily dressed boy ran over with reddened eyes, demanding to know why she suddenly wanted to break up with him. But she claimed they didn't know each other. She seemed afraid that I wouldn't accept the love letter because of this.